Welcome back to our third iteration of Tucson's Changing Urban Landscape. Series one, video one of the series was a sort of foundational video talking about the history of what's created a lot of this economic change, and we talked about some of the very specific projects that were, in my opinion, change makers. The second series was really what's happening in the central urban core, and one of the key lessons there is we talked about the importance of developers really tying to the history and culture of the region. So as they're developing, maintaining names or maintaining structures, incorporating pieces of our history as part of our current growth and our future growth as well. Today we're going to really focus on the University and 4th Avenue, some of the things that are happening in that area. So if you haven't listened to the other two episodes, I recommend that you do. This is the third in the series, and does stand alone, but it's a little bit more meaningful, I think, if you've listened to the other two prior. So let's head over to the University of Arizona, Arizona. The big project that's happening there, we have a lot of student housing going in, and that's dotting the skylines there. Not talking too much about that in this presentation, but we are going to talk about this new structure. This is a combination of the graduate hotel and the collective apartments. The hotel is going to have 165 rooms, meeting spaces, and some really high-tech areas for conferences. And the apartments, the collective apartments will be 238 apartments. Both are going to have roof deck pools. So I'm not sure which one's which, to be honest with you, in this view, but they kind of work together. And if you're trying to place it, this is a view of it from January. It's much farther along now. We're in May here of 2020, much farther along, but it's right next to the Marriott, which itself is undergoing some internal renovations. So the university is going to be blessed with two very large facilities that will allow them to attract some nice conventions to the area and do larger academic events right on campus. So I would have to imagine they're pretty excited about that. The project down the road, we'll see how things shake out with the post-pandemic economy. But this is a project that's been talked about for a while. The owner of this lot has owned it for 20-some years and has put together this particular proposal. If you're trying to place it, we're here on Speedway and Campbell. You've got these two apartment buildings here that would come down so that they could build this Speedway Campbell interchange here. This, when done, will be the eastern sort of gateway into the urban core. It'll be a transportation hub because as of now, back here on Helen, you got the University of Banner Medical Facilities here. Back on Helen, you've got the eastern terminus of the streetcar. So if the streetcar expands, it's probably going to connect to here, and you can bet that this building will be a central hub for connecting those two, the streetcar current route with anything in the future. This area will have 40,000 square foot of retail. There'll be space set aside for medical, potentially a large grocery store right in here, office space, and housing. Most likely apartments, although condos are a possibility. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this particular project. This is at Speedway and Campbell. As we leave 4th Avenue, as we leave University and start to head towards 4th Avenue, we're going to go along University Boulevard. If you're familiar with the area, this is Time Market, a fantastic local market there. And this old parking lot is now part of the development called the Trinity. This is the office portion of it, and the bottom floor here has been taken over by a collaborative with El Rio, and they've opened up Health on University. So it's a primary care physician facility that is right in the heart of an area where there wasn't one previously. This is a project called the Trinity. It's designed by Rob Paulus, and it's on the footprint of the Presbyterian Trinity Presbyterian Church. So the church has all of this space. This is the project that is completed with the Health on University at the bottom floor. This is Time Market. This is the church, which will remain. Currently attached to the church is a school. That school is not being used and will come down to create the second portion of the Trinity here. This is going to be more residential and retail. If you were standing right about here on this corner, this is kind of what it would look like, with residential here and retail on the bottom. Again, this is done, this is not. What the developer does have plans to open this area up, because currently that school just comes right through here and it creates a barrier. So, and speaking with the developer, Randy Dorman, you can hear that interview on my podcast. I can point that to you at the end of the show here, at the end of the series. Lots of trees, but they wanted to open this up so that you would have a nice pedestrian connection to the area. So that's going to be the Trinity, and that's on 4th Avenue, a little bit north. So if we head south on 4th and we get to this intersection here at 6th and 4th, we've got the project called the Union on 6th. This is very interesting for lots of reasons, one of which is it's a huge project. So when it's done, this is the 4th Avenue side, when it's done, if you were standing over here on this corner, this is what you would see. So you would looking back here to the south and to the west. You can see on 4th Avenue, it's not too tall. It's a couple of stories up. There's retail that's going to be in here and some housing. Definitely gets bigger as you get back towards 5th. And again, this is a very big footprint. This would be a view as if you were at the Food Conspiracy Co-op on 4th Avenue and looking. Here's the corner at 6th and 4th. And you can see it gets quite large when it gets over to the 5th Avenue side of the project. A view from probably January, took this off their website. I'm sure they've got something updated. But you can see this is a massive, massive project. Keeping some of the historic bungalows that are here, I believe. This area was really controversial because they took down a very popular place called, most recent iteration was called the Flycatcher. It had been a music venue for some time, and people were sad to see that go. There was a lot of concern of people that were in the area that a project of this scale would really kind of change that bohemian feel of 4th Avenue, the nature of what really makes 4th Avenue popular. So one of the interesting things that came out of this development was that the neighbors, the business owners, the landowners, the concerned citizens, they got together and they formed something called the Historic 4th Avenue Coalition. And that coalition negotiated with the developer of Union on 6th, and they came to an agreement that the coalition would not object to the development, but the developer would give priority to local tenants, because they wanted to make sure that if these things were filled, that we kept the local businesses in here. So they're going to give a priority to local businesses. They're going to cap their rents for a period of time to keep rents from just escalating so much that would push other people out of the neighborhood. They're going to invest in public art using local artists and put it in about $100,000 back into the area over the next 5 years to create a more beautiful landscape. So this community benefits agreement is unique in that it's the first one in Tucson, it might be the first one in the state, in which a developer willingly agrees to certain limitations on their development in exchange for cooperation from the neighbors and the businesses around that. This is a private agreement. This was not orchestrated by the government. It's two private parties entering into this agreement. It's recorded and it stays with the property. So the CBA is a model that the other parts of Tucson are looking to replicate. How can they work together with developers? In talking with the members of the Historic 4th Avenue Coalition, they were very clear. They're not against development. They see development as inevitable. The streetcar itself requires density. We need density to make this successful. So they were not opposed to development. What they were concerned with was development that would change the nature of 4th Avenue. We've got something very special. They wanted to keep it that way, and we appreciate that the developer has worked with them on that. We'll see how that plays out over the next few years and see if we get more of these community benefits agreements in place. So remember, this is the footprint. If we move down 4th Avenue, a project that was completed a couple of years ago, but it's one of my favorite down there. It's called the Box Yard. I like it because it was an empty lot, and they've used these cargo containers to create restaurants and 2 bars in here. They have this nice rooftop deck, and you can see the hut is over here on 4th Avenue. So you get a nice little look of 4th Avenue from here. And I like it because it was an empty lot. They did something creative with it, and on this empty lot was a Vietnamese food truck that was displaced because of this development. But instead of kicking them out, what they did is they brought them in, and that Vietnamese food truck became one of these cargo container restaurants. So it's a good tie-in, again, keeping the history as part of our present and our future. Across the street from the box yard is a project that does have a lot of people concerned about development on 4th Avenue, and that's this Maloney's pad. It used to be Maloney's and Rec. This is a project that is underway. Don't know if it's got a name yet. I just refer to it as the Maloney's pad. But what you're likely going to see here is a 13-story structure with 760 beds and 324 rooms. It's a very big project. You've got parking, retail, and this definitely is going to have an impact on the type of feel on 4th Avenue. So keeping an eye on this project. If you're looking at it, you're just about to go into downtown. This is the historic train depot. And remember, just on the other side of this, you've got that Ronstadt Center, which is potentially being developed out. That's going to be right over here. And they might have that pedestrian bridge that could potentially carry it over the tracks and connect with these warehouses. So this whole area now, you know, we look at it as downtown or 4th Avenue, but this whole area really could just become one sort of central urban spot with different districts. Like this could be the 4th Avenue district of downtown, and this would be the depot, the entertainment section of downtown. Anyway, we'll see how it all plays out. But this is definitely going to change the look and feel of 4th Avenue. So short segment today. If you want more information, you can always head over to the Downtown Tucson Partnerships Economic blog. I think they do a great job. rianuevo.org is a great place for information about the projects in which they're involved. Their footprint is not University or Main Gate, so they're not involved with things that we talked about today. But they do have a huge footprint on the some of the other things that we're going to talk about in the next episode and the stuff we talked about in the last episode. And then TBOAZ.biz, really good information about economic development, projects that are planned across the region, not just downtown or 4th Avenue, but all of metropolitan Tucson. My website, Life Along the Streetcar, is a radio show that I host every Sunday at 11 a.m., and we have all of those available for rebroadcast. 130-some episodes. We'd love for you to learn more about the history and culture of Tucson, social, economic impacts of things that are happening through downtown radio's Life Along the Streetcar. You can find that on 99.1 FM, streaming on downtownradio.org, or you can also head over to our website for more information. And then the last one is my business page, Tom's Tools for Agents. Excuse me, I'm in the mortgage business. I make my living doing that for over 20 years. And we do a lot of work with real estate agents on helping them with their marketing and taking these types of presentations and building it into something for their clients. So if you have any interest in working with us in that regard, check out tomstoolsforagents.com. I appreciate you staying with us here for this third video in the series of Tucson's changing urban landscape.